rolling.
Good evening and welcome to the Eureka Springs CAPC workshop for December 21, 23 at 4 p.m. We'll do our budget workshop. We don't do roll or anything for workshops. So.
We voted on reading the budget.
Yeah. So, Mike, you want to tell us how much, all the money you want and all the things you want to do?
Yeah, delighted. Over the past, of course, month, we've been digging into this sort of optimistically as well as cautiously too, examining where we've been and where we'd like to go. And particularly the past few days, Scott and I have been working on this quite a bit. And we've come to, I think, some really good conclusions and directions that we'd like to see us take for the 2024 year and comparatively against the 2023 year. You've got a couple of pages here. I'm not sure if they were in the right order here. Oh, there we go. Front and back. In 2023, of course, we budgeted $2.3 million in total income based upon those projections of food and beverage, lodging, and so forth. And as we've taken a look at the numbers as they are coming in right now.
You're on this, just everyone,
yeah, this is,
we're on the income side.
Unfortunately, it's upside down.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at the...
First column on the left should say total income, right?
Exactly.
I just want to make sure we're all, okay.
We went back and did some hammering against these numbers, and after taking a look at where we are right now with our monies, it would appear that we're going to be, I can't remember the exact figure, but well ahead of the 2023 projections of 2.3 with a surplus of monies. So hence we come back with these figures of $2.4 million for the year, equally spread between food and beverage at $1,100,000 for both. Our conservative estimates on ticket sales in-house of only 1,000, primarily because we don't have an accurate idea if we're going to be doing in-house ticketing or sales of concerts at this point. Internet, similar, is going to be that way because of where we stand with our ticketing engine right now with ThunderTix. We think that's going to be changing during 2024. We're not real knocked out by ThunderTix. They're kind of expensive. They have some prohibitions that we don't necessarily like. And we think that in a conversation we've had with some of our other resources, such as the Passion Play, we're going to take a look at their system because apparently they have a very successful one. And it should be able to help save some money, but also be a better resource for us. I'll give you an example. When a concert, for instance, shuts down, the ticket sales end at 8 o'clock or the concert starts at 8 o'clock. With ThunderTix, the ticketing stops at 8 o'clock too. So if somebody walks in the door, we can't sell a ticket through the system. That's become a little bit of problematic for it. Also, the tiers of which they sell different sections of the theater have been a little bit problematic. So we're trying to do a little bit of a sweeping overview of that to determine a better fit for us. So we're not really, ThunderTix has been here for a while, they've worked, but we think that there's a better approach to that. So I think that this is a good move for us to examine.
So the big question in my mind, probably everyone's, is that income number. You know, what should that income number be? You're proposing 2.4.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
so
sir.
I think that's, Scott quickly showed me, it looks like we're going to end up, if we hit last year's numbers, we're going to end up just a hair over 2.4 this year. So it'll be a flat budget.
Yes.
It's good news.
It is good
Wow.
news.
Well, I mean, that's your, good news of where we're at. Yeah, we hit our budget. Sorry.
I think one of the great variables here, and you know, I think it's so interesting that when we take a look at our interest income in banking, and you'll see 22,000 in 2023, and then you see 70,000 in 2024. You're going, oh, why?
Yeah.
And Scott, you've got the best explanation I've ever heard.
Interest rates, right?
When the monies come in to our handling and our responsibility, they pretty much within 24 hours go to the bank. And so we're actually earning interest on our monies versus maybe in the past, they may go to the bank once every 10 days. So when you go to the bank once every 10 days with $150,000, well, you know, over time, you earn a lot more interest with that money in the bank. And then we're at, I don't want to public, it's about over 4.5, we're over 4.5% on it, and that's pretty good. And that's on all of our accounts, so. Anyway.
Well, in other words, it's just smart financial management. And, you know, it's odd that all of a sudden we sit there with this big income figure, but it's just because of, let's go to the bank every time we get a deposit and put it in the bank. It makes a huge difference, especially with today's rates. So we feel pretty comfortable right now, you know, with the 2.4 million, and obviously, you know, our goal is to overachieve always, but on the same token, we don't think we'll have to take a step backwards.
I think we should discuss if everyone's, any thoughts on that number? More, less, happy, sad?
I have a question about the food and beverage collection. Because I see in the city a downturn for food and beverage and lodging. So I'm interested why we chose to up that.
So where are you seeing the downturn? Curious.
From conversations with other hotel owners,
Well,
restaurant owners, bar owners.
Right, but the tax receipts don't show the downturn. It's where I'm not trying to.
What, do we know, Scott,
Do what? What's the
for
question?
2023 year to date, what's our income from food, lodging, and restaurants?
At the moment, as of right now, the food and beverage is at $989,305. The lodging's at $875,991. That's actual collections as of today.
Restaurant, and I mean, we've talked about like maybe inflation, but restaurant's been up stronger than lodging throughout the year at times. I don't know the exact
Let me explain it this way.
moment.
Under food and lodging, we've collected $989,305, which puts them at a $63,000 deficit as opposed to the lodging at $875,991, and they're down $177,000. So it looks like restaurants are stronger compared to lodging, but that's just my perception at this moment.
He's got, you know, and if you look in your 6 p.m. packet, he's got those financials as of October. You can see monthly, you know, for the October month.
Yeah, I didn't want to open it until
Food-
6.
Huh?
I didn't want to open it until 6.
Well, I'm just saying that the food and beverage is up 30% versus budget, and a hair over that versus last year.
Yeah.
I agree with David, though. I hear all over town that sales are down, hotels are down, food's down, but then our numbers keep looking okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
hard
kind of
to.
scary to think.
Yeah.
Are we going to get surprised one of these days and the rug's going to pulled out from under us? But if the numbers are there, the numbers are there.
Because, yeah, and like 2020 or 2021 was really good. 22 was
Right.
pretty good. And then we're starting to see the downturn. I don't know, Colin,
Yeah,
do you have any input in that?
I'd say we're seeing the downturn a little bit too in the restaurants. But
So are we going back to
we don't have
pre-COVID level?
pre-2021.
I kind of have a feeling that we're going to go back to pre-COVID levels.
Yeah, which, why wouldn't we?
Yeah, because, I mean, you know, after COVID, the short drive distance, all of our motels and hotels with individual HVAC systems
Right.
seem to do well. So it's just a concern.
Yeah, of course.
So I think, my opinion is I think tax receipts, I think it'd be a challenge to hit that number. And part of the reason, and I'm thinking lodging, but part of the reason, it seems like we're seeing more and more people turn to long-term rentals with their nightlies. Because used to, there was no you couldn't find a long-term rental. And now I see a lot of them posting. And I've seen several resorts that have flipped
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
in lodging.
Okay.
Gone from short
Yeah,
to
so we
long-term.
wouldn't get any of their tax if they're long-term, is my
Right.
point.
I'm
So
not sure if
that's
that's
a
a huge
small
number.
part,
It's not a huge number, though.
not a huge number, but it's an indication of people, there's a reason people are doing that, and they think that they're going to make more money doing the long-term than the nightly, that market's eroding. I
There's
think
a
it's
real-
better for the people in the market.
There's a real need for
but
that in town, too, for long-term, so.
That's one, it's a good
Market's
thing
driving
in
it.
that sense. But it's one data point to look
Yeah.
at. We were just chattering earlier, my business, I'm a little outside of town, we're up versus last year. I don't know. I've looked at tax numbers and, it keeps coming back that we're up. So I don't know how, I can understand some places, that some places are down, but there are definitely places that are up. Their revenues are up. As far as their tax receipts, unless something was wrong with what they were paying last year, you know what I mean?
I know people have raised prices,
I
too.
was about to say.
Well, that's
prices going
inflation
up.
in restaurants, no restaurants. Lodging, I don't think we've seen inflation though. I see, and we've got an expert in the room.
Sam.
Yeah, the other expert. But I'm sure you study it too. I didn't see people raising their rates this year much. I didn't see much of that. Maybe I missed it.
It's, manipulating your rates, or every single hotel, has to do it. Weekday, weekend, event weekends, so forth and so on.
Well, yeah, you're talking the chasing occupancy, or if not, if you can drive rate or you can drive occupancy. One guy I know that has a cabin place out west, they're driving rate, and that it didn't used to drive rate. So that's one place I know rates went up. But
There's been several places in town that have changed hands, too, and I think when that happens, they probably come back probably a little higher, because they bought it, done some restoration work and stuff, and that
Could be.
you wouldn't see unless you looked at it from pre-ownership to now, so.
it's supply and demand. So if you raise rates, you usually are going to affect your occupancy. If you drop rate, it can go down. So it's not as simple as just because rates are up. It's not that simple,
Right.
because it can affect occupancy.
So,
I'm saying, we didn't lose, the market tax revenues did not lose money this year.
right. So for the next year's budget, is there any way of predicting if there's going to be a decrease or not,
That goes back to the original question with David is will the sales be as strong this year going into next year? And I don't know anybody that can write that down in the book of probability. I just don't see it. I don't know. I know we've been strong for the year 2023 because we had events planned in town. We had a lot of collaboration with businesses and a lot going on. I think that contributed to that to the increase in income, but I don't know about 2024. I don't know. I can tell you if it's what I would do, but I don't know. I think it's achievable. But we're going to have to, we're limiting ourselves on mistakes to be made. We have to make good choices. Not that we've made bad, but we really got to be making some good choices.
Are y'all okay if Jack opines?
Sure.
Okay. He's more optimistic than me. I'm a little more pessimistic. We've had a conversation before.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jack Moyer, by the way. Nice to meet you. I'm Crescent and Basin Park Hotels. I know the rest of you guys. One thing I think I would keep in mind, we're going to be forecasting flat for next year.
Oh,
Okay. We were down about 106,000, but that's on a basis of a little over 6.5 million. So basically, we see that sort of as flat. I think the thing to keep in mind is where that shortfall happened, and obviously you can communicate this to the agency too. But we were softer in the primary season. Okay, so when you're looking at late June, July, August, heat was really difficult,
Yeah.
right? And heat in Eureka means fewer people. I don't think heat's going away anytime soon. I don't know if you guys are thinking about that, but and then the fall season was really strong. So we jumped back in pretty heavy in the fall season. We do use flexible pricing models, and we saw the ability to hold rate in most of that time period. So you really were losing occupancy. So I think the thing that I would do and what we are doing, because we budget obviously also, is we are budgeting a little soft on areas that decelerated last year. Those for us were April, early March. Spring break was solid. So April, May, soft. Early summer was good for us. Late summer was bad for us. So we just saw a deceleration there. And then we were nervous going into the fall because it was such a late booking deal. I think we always have to keep the agency and Mike knows that in tune to make sure we're fresh and relevant right up to the booking window, which is literally 3 days out. And that made the real surprise. I think November numbers probably were pretty strong for you guys. November is solid. December is pretty flat. Not exactly sure why that is. But fall lasts longer in Eureka than it ever has. We were all the way into the third week of fall and still jamming pretty good. So anyways, that's a little bit of detail there. As far as the restaurant numbers, where I think you could pulse restaurant numbers back would probably be in the wedding and group market. Those calls are happening again. And the beauty about those numbers, if they spread wider, that's pretty good revenue. So that's those.
Jack, what did you say? I'm sorry, did you say wedding?
Wedding.
We on the wedding market for us, I've shared this with Mike confidentially in the past, but that's a pretty good sized number of sales on the food and beverage side. And then our menu pricing was up about 26%. So, and we will be up again. They just did the commodities release, and a big one is chicken, and chicken is looking at 17% increase for next year. So, you're just going to get popped on that, and obviously when those prices come up from the vendor, we immediately pulse and reprice menus. So, that's what you're going to see, and you're already seeing it, I think. So anyways, I'm here for a couple more minutes. If you have questions, I'm happy to. That's not why I came. Chris did not know that I was coming.
I did? No.
I would ask you one question, Jack, and it goes back to your observation with the summer and the weather. We did have what I would consider kind of an unbearably warm summer.
Yeah.
We've had kind of a history of that over the past 2 or 3 years. And I don't see any particular sign that that's going to go away.
Yeah.
On the same token, are you seeing that as a factor of maybe bookings early on now, as people are planning to go into 2021?
We are going to, and I would encourage you guys to hit early summer hard, like right in the Memorial Day, and just really jam. as much as you can to try to capture early June, which a lot of times people, you gotta set that foundation 45 days from that date, right? And oftentimes we were a little later and we saw really solid Julys. But if you think about the product offering that Eureka has and pair it to heat, it's not that great. And I think our customers are telling us that, So the other thing I guess I should mention, we are going to go all in again on blues. The Ozark Mountain Music Festival happens in January. That's going to be a really solid weekend for January. I've already talked to the mayor about, hey, if it snows, we're all in pretty deep because you're talking about like 100K in underwriting for everybody that's playing there. But that's 3 days. That's going to be a really solid time. Then we'll have Memorial Day. Memorial Day always makes. And then blues will fall to its traditional date, starting the Thursday after Memorial Day. So we'll be in on that.
Do you think you'll see abnormally large bookings in the month of April due to the eclipse? Is that going to skew the sales?
Here is a politically incorrect, no.
I don't either.
And the reason is, I don't know if we all know how long an eclipse lasts. But I think what you're seeing, and good for them, is for markets that typically are not traditional tourism markets, they're going to see a pulse.
Okay.
For us, I think we'll be full, but we're full a lot. So I'm not building around that, with the exception of some catch. We're booked a couple of weddings. We're going to do an event, like but nothing. We're not
Okay.
banking our tourism on a 2-hour event. 365. That's what we're going for. And
I understand.
you guys know. Some of you know this. We expect to be full every weekend, 52 weeks of the year. We expect to be busy weekdays from spring break till mid-December. That's how we run our business. We expect to be full every weekend, every week of the year, and we expect midweek business to pick up and be heavy from spring break to second week of December. So.
Yep.
Anyways, Chris did not invite me here today, but it was good to see you guys.
I don't know why I keep saying that, but I didn't.
I will say that we did send out, and Danielle sending out the spring break advisory, if not already today, tomorrow. We've already done the research on it, so that's going to go out to all our collectors. So, just so you know.
And spring break is February or March?
It's all over.
All over the place.
Yeah, it's in March mainly, but every state does it a little different. Particularly Missouri, Kansas City does it different than St. Louis, and so forth. It's all over the place. When I was looking at those numbers while we were visiting and talking with Scott just a little bit, we were taking a look at our end of October 23 numbers, and in the food and beverage collections, we were really 108% over budget. We'd collected $926,000 at the end of October, and we budgeted $853. So we've been achieving pretty well, at least in the food and beverage area right now. Now, we still, we're optimistic about our November numbers because they appear to be very strong. So, the discussion back and forth in food and so forth, that's really a tough one. We don't know. Price of chicken could, change drastically, so we don't really know where we're going to go with those numbers exactly. So it's up to the purview of the commission to determine optimism or pessimism.
In my opinion, I think we just, like Jack says, stay flat with it and keep our fingers crossed.
Say that again.
I think we should just predict flat, no
Yeah.
increase, and just hope for the best.
So, one of the things we've danced around and there's been strong opinions about is that reserve money. And so, if that gets spent, that affects that interest number pretty dramatically. If something like Basin Park is taken on, or some of these big things, something to think about, so, you know, might not really be 70,000 if that happened, so,
True. True.
not a huge number compared to the budget.
How much do we have in reserve?
It's over $1 million, right?
Do what now?
How much is in reserves?
2,040,000 as of October 31st. That number probably is a little higher, so we're at $2,040,652.43 at the end of October 31. Number's probably a little higher right now because of interest.
That's not something we have to address today. It's not part of the budget, but it's definitely something that needs a lot of discussion. So,
Okay.
everybody good with flat at 2.4 million?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, kind of going further into our expenses of media. And this is a little different this year than it was last year because.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jack.
Thank you very much.
Last year, we were looking at things a little differently because of Paradise, and this year we're dropping that down into another category you'll see here under production. Under our media guides and postage, we will be sending out hopefully a little bit more literature this year. So we've upped that to $5,000. That gives us the opportunity to maybe do a little bit more in-house printing, a little bit more of the types of things that we would like to distribute to other places and people, TICs around the state.
So I got a question. Last year, we gave money to the chamber for postage for guides. Is that in this number, or is that, how did we do that?
I think that came to us as a marketing support request.
Okay.
Am I right?
It did.
I think it did.
Okay.
So this is a little different.
So is that how we're going to handle it again this year? Is the
I
market?
think we need to probably really delve into what we're allowed to do with the chamber. That's always been my concern, because the law,
It's the commingling of stuff. We can't commingle money, things like that, but we can support things that are tourism related.
What we
Well,
can and we
yeah.
cannot do, and this is particularly true with chambers, is we cannot, and the word is commingle, we can contract for services. And during, a while ago, we did actually have a 10-year contract with the chamber to do nothing but mail out the guides that they produced. It was a woefully long contract. On the same token, we had to kind of change the theory of that a bit ago because of the dwindling amount of advertising that was going into the publications, and it became obvious that maybe there was an issue there. So what I think we're looking at is a market support fund request probably does a better job of addressing that. But again, at your point, David, is that contractually, that's something we can do something, but we don't give them money, per se.
and do we know what our ROI is on these guides? I'm just wondering, because I really don't read anything unless it's online. Printed materials, I don't,
Yeah.
people drop stacks of stuff off at my hotel, and it sits there for
It's
the
a
entire
mess.
month and is
Yeah.
never touched.
I'm with you.
The thing I'll say about that, and this is probably true for tourism across the state of Arkansas, we have a dozen what are called TICs, Tourist Information Centers. These are the things that you cross over when you go from Arkansas to Oklahoma, Louisiana, and so forth. Those visitors' information centers are really critical because they do contain mounds of literature that people do pick up and look at. Bella Vista's got a great one. We've got a fantastic one here in Harrison that distributes materials. It's important for us to have that presence. So many of our individual attractions and so forth, Onyx Cave and so forth, Turpentine Creek, will also have their own literature and materials there. But it's probably important for Eureka Springs to have a bit of a presence as an overall community in some of those guides. We've done that in a different way in the past. One is the NATA Guide, the Northwest Arkansas Tourism Association Guide, which we are part of. So we are appearing in some of those publications, but we as a CAPC don't have to produce that type of material. We will help distribute if we can, but really that's the essence of our
I think it's
our
the
responsibility.
parks ones that are really nice. Is that the ones? Man,
The
those,
Arkansas Visitors Guide.
those people seem to use them at cabins. I mean, they
Park
look at,
trails.
they're really nice guides that are like books almost. I think they're parks.
Well, Parks and
Okay.
Tourism has got a fantastic guide.
Yeah.
And is the one that we do advertise in.
Yeah.
And they've gone to a digest format versus the big magazine format. The motorcycle guides are important, just because of the fact that that's part of our market. So we do place ads in those, but necessarily are we publishing them? No, we're just advertisers.
That's those that shall not be named.
Yeah. I totally agree with David. We shouldn't be producing a lot of different handout materials. Most people don't look at that stuff anymore. They look online. But one guide, where someone walking through town and sees one guide they can pick up and go, what's going on this month? So they can carry it around with them. I think it's a good idea. And that's what the chamber does, that, what do they call it, the fun guide?
Fun guide, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not the chamber.
That's the paper.
That's Eureka Springs.
You got the two, you got the
Okay.
Chamber's visitor guide, and then you got the fun guide.
One, I
Those
think
are
one
pretty-
thing, though.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But looking here, though, on the museum contract, and someone told me that exists because at one time we contracted them to be our drop-in visitor center, and they're supposed to have a rack with all the tourism stuff there. And that's why we pay them $7,200 a year to be a contract for a museum. So are they passing on the information about Eureka Springs?
Yeah, I'd encourage you to go in. They've done a fantastic job, with addressing the front office needs. As you walk in the door, it's lots of displays, lots of things that you can pick up. So it truly is a visitor's information center.
I know that this chamber guide has been the topic of discussion before, but, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the A&Ps typically produce their own at a large expense. Is that correct? A lot of the A&Ps, like Bentonville or Rogers, they would create their own guides. Maybe I'm wrong.
Boy, I almost hate to answer that question. And the reason I say that is that chambers typically take on that responsibility. And the case of Rogers is that case. They have a good library
Well,
publisher.
they were pretty tight.
And
yeah.
they are, and
But Bentonville used to do their own.
it's
Yeah.
true.
I don't know about
It's a very
Fayetteville.
difficult thing to do, and Branson
I'm
is-
not trying to suggest we do that. I'm just saying it's a luxury to not. It
Yeah,
was
I
kind of my impression.
I like an online, but if we do a guide, let's do it online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
I think we should
that's
more and more
really where
online.
it goes.
I
Just
think
for
you
Ca-
let,
Just for Caleb's education, too. Caleb, we are.
You mean
CA
Colin?
Colin, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm terrible with names.
your evil twin, his evil twin.
Every other CAPC in the state is called AMP.
Yeah.
And we're the only one
Yeah, yeah,
called
yeah.
CAPC. So it gets very confusing when you go to the tourism conference, everybody talks about AMP.
I'm
So-
sure the Chamber's guide is online. Yeah,
It better be.
yeah.
I hope to God it is.
Anyway.
To answer the question, AMPs do. Branson is a good example of a big organization that has produced their own for a long
Yeah.
time.
And so
oddly
Madden,
enough,
that was their primary function, was doing guides.
That's right.
But it's-
Before, they've become more and more,
Yeah, Branson's AMP and their chambers merged for
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. there.
Kinda like
So it's not
Rutgers.
different.
But the museum does function as a visitor's guide, or as a visitor center for us,
Yeah.
as well as our transit depots do the same thing too. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to also be reminded that they do a good job of that. We put down media buys, and then the 559,000 was actually the figure that was attributed to Paradise in 2023. But you'll see that figure come down over into the production expenses a little later on is $1.7 million. We'll get to that in a moment. But what we're looking at is $10,000 to be able to handle internally at the MP Commission versus doing it in any place else.
So the 10,000's for what's an example?
We would do some radio buys, for instance, for a concert. It could be a print ad that we put in the Independent or the Times Echo for something that we need to do.
So it's a flexible fund to boost kind of on the fly. Is that enough?
Well, it's always a...
It doesn't seem like enough to me.
It's not a great amount, but when we get down to the odd, we'll talk about being able to do a little bit more promotion with the odd.
Okay.
So, and we did talk about that. Printed materials.
Mike, quick
Yes, sir.
question.
I'm sorry.
On media buys, you said that includes radio, stuff
Good.
like that. I don't know the ins and outs of radio, but it seems to me these days people don't listen to our local channels. They're on Sirius and internet, Spotify, that kind of stuff. So do the buys include those kinds of platforms as well, or is it strictly
I wish they did.
Well,
local?
this last year, we've encouraged the agency to use Spotify and Pandora, but also these guys boosted some of the shows they did with radio, and it worked really well. But
Okay.
to your point, it's very specific audience type stuff.
Yeah.
So media buys cannot cover Spotify.
No. We actually have got a pretty good category within our Madden program for that type of media, as a matter of fact. So we are going to be doing some Pandora as Pandora hopefully continues to exist, and Spotify and those, and that's part of that mix that we'll look at with the Madden program. So yeah, it's there. When I take a look at radio as a whole, and David, I agree with you. I listen to XM only. I can't stand local radio, and I'm a radio broadcaster. Hate radio. What I do like is the opportunity to go ahead and do something 2 or 3 days in advance of a concert that we need to go ahead and boost some sales. If we need to buy 15 spots, regionally, we can. We've got that opportunity. I like to have it there as a fund that we can use. And that would probably be something we wouldn't advertise locally necessary, but we would probably put it up in Springfield or Joplin Market or Harrison or something like that.
Okay.
It doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
Because radio is almost more expensive today than television is. But point being is we have that flexibility to be able to do that. Printed materials, zip. Okay, marketing support. Marketing support is really
Did you skip the influencer visits? Yeah, media visits.
Pardon me. Yes, I did.
You're ready to go home.
No, I wasn't ready.
It's all running together.
We have that opportunity to go ahead and periodically be able to help out some people that do want to come into the market and do something that is decent in terms of a story, an article, an idea. We'd like to vet those pretty carefully. Typically, the agencies like to go ahead and do these influencer things too, but sometimes they'll come to us on a local level, and that may not go through the agency. If we have that opportunity, it's a good thing. The other part of that also is an opportunity to do something that, what did we call it? I don't want to call it something that's not what it is. Trinkets of trash and tchotchkes.
I don't remember. The theory behind the influencer visits is this: we did not have any money in our budget to allow us to do influencers internally. Paradise was handling that. And the frustrating thing about that was they would bring in influencers recently, and it would cost us, they would bill us, $10,000 to $15,000 for their visit for a couple of days. And I know that we can do a better job with half that amount of money, and that's why I wanted to put this line in there.
Yeah.
That
There's a
speaks-
big markup.
So this is an opportunity to showcase what we can do.
That's it.
Okay,
That's it right there.
Thank you.
is that enough money?
Is it enough money? I don't know. What I'm suggesting is we don't put it down there, we won't have it.
Yeah,
And if we can go ahead and if we get 2 or 3 good media visits because of that, then I think it's well worth it. Don't want to buy anybody a vacation.
I'd say it's probably enough to start. I mean, we do some influencer marketing too, and normally if it's something small like we're talking about, then it's usually just a few $100 a pop.
We've had people request vacations, like,
Yeah.
would you put our dog into the massage parlor with us?
And half the time,
That's
they just
certain.
want to trade of some kind.
serious?
That's
that
why
what
we
David
wanted to take,
does?
that's why we wanted to take
Do
it
you have
over.
dog massage parlor at your place?
We have Bowser's.
Yeah.
They don't offer massage.
Maybe they should.
Probably really.
But I mean, I find it interesting, just
Light
like
bulb
when,
went on.
when influencers approach us, me speaking for myself, they don't ask for any money. They're just asking for
Place to stay.
a place to stay and, a couple of meals during their stay.
Yeah.
Trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's maybe one way that we can approach it.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever pay them, but we would go ahead and
We
provide
talked about that,
hospitality.
about trying to get stakeholders to volunteer on accommodations and stuff,
Offer
giving
that.
people,
Offer,
And-
yeah, they can come eat.
Yep.
Or they'll stay a night.
Who would
for
be
free, and
interested
As long
and-
as they promote it through the town.
trying to make it fair where like, they don't all come, you give, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talked about that one time.
Marketing support funds. The overall figure we've come up with is $100,000. And what we have talked about doing was, marketing support funds are just really one of those crazy things that where we give money away. What we try to do is to use those monies to help leverage events, organizations that need support through public relations, through advertising, and so forth. And I use the example of Springtime of the Ozarks. I've used it before. They bring 2,200 people to town. They ask for about $250, $300 to do direct mail. And then they put all those people in town for 2 or 3 days. It fills up those rooms. It fills up the restaurants. It's money that is really well spent. The cap that I have seen work best is $5,000 maximum per organization. And they have to be able to go ahead and kind of prove to us that that $5,000 is going to generate, A, room nights and food and lodging income. We do not really necessarily want those monies to be used in perpetuity. For instance, I like the idea of 3 years max. If you're trying to go ahead and be a fundraising organization, go ahead and exercise some of your own fundraising capabilities to do those things.
Seed money.
Seed money.
So
Exactly.
that's like probably a whole hour workshop, just that topic.
I think that would actually be a
Right.
bylaws
It's in our
Yes,
workshop.
yes.
So where we see this happening, and I think I've looked at other cities, and Bentonville and Fayetteville have done a pretty good job of this in the past, is they do it on a kind of a calendar basis, where you can't take $100,000 and just stick it out there, and everybody comes in and runs for it. And we do it over a period of, and I call it 4 quarters now. $25,000 per quarter, we have $5,000 maximum per request. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to give $25,000 away. What it means is that we may have 5 or 6 organizations come in and qualify for all those funds. When we space those out, it gives other people an opportunity to go ahead and take a look at their calendars as to what their needs are going to be throughout the year, as opposed to coming in all at once. And it's the old land rush theory. We don't want them all running in the 1st of January asking for all of our money. What we really want to do, though, is to pace that out and make sure that it's equitably spread throughout the community. There are a lot of provisions within our bylaws that say what you can and what you cannot do, with those monies. For instance, you can't buy trophies, you can't give money away, you can't buy merchandise and resell it. But you can go ahead and advertise your event, you can buy direct mail, you can buy whatever you need to go ahead and promote that event and make it successful.
Advertisement.
And we've had a good history of, I think, being good stewards of the money over the years. I don't think I've ever seen an area, at least since I've been in part of the organization, that we had a problem with that. But it is an area of caution because people get grabby, so to speak.
So you're doubling But for perspective, we were at 2.5% of the budget for events, marketing support, in a very event-heavy town. And so then that's 5%, of the budget. To me, doesn't sound unrealistic, but
Yeah.
any objections?
No, I feel really strongly about supporting, our local events and that kind of stuff. I do agree with Steve that there's got to be a line drawn somewhere. That's going to be a difficult conversation, not only for this table, but for our residents as well, and people who put these events on. My second question, Mike, is, so 25,000 per quarter is what you're saying? And if we don't spend that 25,000, is it
There's
going
a-
to roll over into the next quarter, or,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
Yeah, I would not want to go in and say that that's it, folks. You've only got 75,000 left in the pool. No, I would rather go ahead and say that let's go ahead and make the money out. Let's allocate the money, and if we have some overreach, fine.
You have some, we have some pretty good talent that spins up things, especially when they see that maybe there's a need, the economy's dipping or something. So it's not out of reason that we get, you don't spend the money, and then later in the year, all of a sudden someone's come up with a big event coming up because of the economy or something like that. Put a lot of focus on it. You know what I mean? So I think it makes sense to roll it over.
I think we all just need to, what I've seen over the past year is we've been
Too gracious.
extremely gracious.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, I think the entire table needs to not be afraid to say no.
Be more competitive.
Yes. And Dawn, Danielle, it is freezing in here. I am freezing. Am I the only one?
I'm freezing too.
Okay, there's two.
Really?
I can fix it.
Thank you.
For
It's
once,
a-
I'm not.
David, you're right. You could do a workshop on this, and actually, it's a good thing to do an educational workshop on it for the community as a whole, because again, this is a chunk of change, and it really does judiciously need to be managed. But we want it to go to the good of the community, because we just have to face it. If an organization is bringing people to town, and they're doing the job that we would like for them to do, and that's to help our economy, then, that $5,000 could be golden. It just depends on what they do with it, so.
As far as the accounting for this, like Mike said, I think what we were trying to accomplish was if we had X amount of dollars for the year, and at our first meeting, you had 15 people stand up, and they want $5,000, and at the end of the meeting, you depleted the entire budget within an hour and a half. That's what we're trying to avoid, by setting up by quarter. From my accounting's perspective, to avoid having to set up 3 new accounts, I will, but is it best to, that you've got X amount of dollars, $25,000 a quarter to spend for promotions, or does it, I need to know what you do. Do you want me to set it up in 4 different accounts, or set it up in one account and keep track of how you spend it like I've done already? I mean, I can tell you by quarter or by meeting, or
That's up to you.
So are we going to do, which would be nice, is like January is the first ask, or maybe it's February, I don't know, but people, so that's for the quarter, and we don't do it every meeting, or?
Well, you don't want to do it every meeting.
That'd be
You're
nice.
exactly right.
Yeah.
It's better to go ahead and give notice that you've got these funds available, and your request needs to come in at a certain time so that it can be reviewed. Otherwise, all we do for every meeting is sit down and do
Which is what we've
RFPs
done.
on these things. And that can be a drag. And part of that discussion sometimes, unfortunately, gets down to, kind of saying, you want to say no, but sometimes you're afraid to say because you want to let them articulate what they want, and they can take an hour. So, you've got 3 minutes to tell me your story.
I mean, on personal experience, I've voted yes on some things and have seen absolutely nothing from them. So
What's the last part of that?
I said, I know that from my perspective personally, I've voted yes to fund some of these things and really haven't seen anything come out of them. So that's why I want us,
Well-
to be steadfast and being comfortable saying no.
I think a workshop's a great idea.
Yeah.
What we will do going forward is that every request that comes in will be graded in terms of its potential as an income provider.
Oh, this is that formula that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. Okay.
But no, I really do want to know, how many nights do you think you're going to be able to book into our rooms?
Yep.
If you're going to have 150 people show up and they're going to be here for 3 days, we can kind of figure out, you're going to eat some food, you're going to, drink beverages.
That's on the form, isn't it?
Yeah, but what we're going to need to be able to do is to calculate that. So at the end of the day, we can say, we're going to be able to get, this much tax back. And I had seen in the past, somebody come in, last for $5,000, but it's going to generate $10 in tax revenue. That didn't work.
We're 50 minutes in.
So,
I'd like to see a list of all the funding requests from last year. I'd like to see a list of all the funding requests.
Scott,
I think we could look at those and go, this is every year, and
List of approved or all?
all.
All.
And then mark
Scott.
approved or not approved.
I think you can make one account for it, and then we just do what we said and just know that we can only spend so much per quarter.
Yeah, 100 in it, yeah.
Well, if it's rolled over, it's going to change every quarter, correct?
Do what?
If the funds are rolled over, let's say the first quarter we only used 15,000, then that amount is going to change the second quarter.
Right.
So-
well, that's what he's saying. If we just put it all in one account, it's got 100K in it.
Yeah.
We know that we can't spend more than 25.
Even
Okay,
numbers.
okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
We can,
just have
that's
to-
easy to keep track of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I just don't want to get so rigid that we turn people down. If we have 7 in the first quarter, and we only have 3 people wanting in the second quarter, I don't want to say,
We have not had a problem with turning people down.
No, but we've not really had any kind of rules around it either.
I'm just
We're
kidding.
like, okay, it's like, we'll give it to you too.
Hopefully what it'll avoid is having to move money like we had to do several times last year.
I think to be responsible, we should have more of a plan. So,
Agreed.
workshop.
All right, we're
Next.
almost an hour in.
production, okay. This whole area here problem should be called Madden. But, for generic terms, we will do this. First of all, website maintenance and production of Madden Media. Madden has proposed they would take over the website for $44,400. Now, if we take a look at their MSA, which is the contractual relationship, they actually stripped that figure out based upon the fact that we had talked internally about perhaps doing the website internally
Or with another provider.
or with another provider. They would like $44,000 to do that.
You got other bids, what were those? Wasn't one like 2,000 a month, 3,000 a month? But it was tiered services too. There was different,
It rolls.
Yeah.
It's been too long since I've seen it.
They were,
the one Caitlin liked was either 2,000 or 3,000 a month
Right.
before the Madden thing. And it was not full service.
No,
So-
it was not.
There were other bids for that before we chose the agency.
So Madden is offering full-service website maintenance.
For $44,000, right.
Okay.
We can either do that or we can internalize it by doing a third party or even internalizing it. So we've got some options there.
I had asked Caitlin, I know she's out on vacation, but I had asked her thoughts. She preferred this,
Yes.
right?
She did.
Because the continuity, it's the agency, the
Yeah,
things
I
she's
agree
doing,
completely.
working with them, all that, huh?
Yeah, I agree completely.
Graphic production in-house is basically what it says. That is our graphic production in-house. Caitlin does a magnificent job of stuff that we do, creating some ads, logos, flyers, and so forth that we need, sometimes in a hurry. And that gives us the opportunity to do some printing as well. You notice the posters on the inside of the auditorium, for things like Old Crow and whatnot. Those are things that we do here, and that way we can take care of those and get them done. Similarly, with photography and video production, we have the capability of doing a lot of our own. That is a budgeted item that Madden put in their $1,700,000 figure, that we would like to have that category for us to be able to do some things on our own as well. And that just helps us, again, with the immediacy of what we do. And I'll give you an example of what we're doing right now is we have a lot of pics that have been taken over a period of time that we're loading up the Dropbox right now, which there's a lot of, that the CAPC spent quite a bit of money on. And they have been unbeknownst to people. So what we're doing right now is making those available to Madden as well as our other people that are doing, helping us out. So this is an area that is really kind of important for us to be able to have access and control on. So 7,500 isn't much, but on the same token, it gives us a little latitude. I'm going to go ahead and interject something here that is not in this page right now. In 2018, we hired a young man named Edward Robson, who lives out by Essa. Edward is one of the quintessential brilliant geniuses of videography and filmography that lives in Northwest Arkansas. He produced for the CAPC 6 commercials. Each commercial was about $5,500 a piece. These are magnificent productions. We have been in contact, at least via email today, with Edward to perhaps get the rights to look at those commercials again. And when I say these are magnificent productions, these are productions that you just have never seen before. They're so dramatic and so awe-inspiring that they really, literally will take your breath away. There is a video of this young man over here that was shot in 2018 on the back of a Vespa.
He's a star, he is.
Wow.
Was he cleaned up?
Yeah, he was pretty dang
Hair
good.
I did not.
He was wearing orange.
I would pull those spots up, but we don't have permission to do it right now. But I'm going to tell you that we're going to seek the opportunity to probably re-bring those back. This stuff,
They were
I'll
very
show it to
good.
you in private, literally.
So they've never been seen by anyone?
Oh, they've been, well, we use them on the air. We've
Okay.
used them from
They were
Kansas
very
City to
good.
Dallas.
Okay, gotcha.
Unfortunately, because of the rights that we had to the commercials, we only had the rights for a year. And then I left and he left and
Got lost.
but the commercials still exist on his Instagram page.
Yes.
And if you will go to White Phoenix Films.
White Phoenix?
WhitePhoenixFilms.com,
All one word.
all one word, WhitePhoenixFilms.com, and just click on any one of the several. You'll just absolutely go, oh my gosh, where have you been?
I have one of those on my website.
Yeah, you can't look at them. No, we can't bring them up. You did voiceovers for them. Yeah, well, they're fantastic.
But that's one of the videos you did.
Exactly. Exactly. These are,
It's excellent. I think
they're stunning.
Yeah,
Just
they're magnificent.
stunning. So we're going to interject that in there just to make you FYI aware of
It
this.
sounds like a man crush, but
Sam wanted to redo the commercial again to 2020-24 standards, and I think we should let him do it.
I agree.
Sam?
I would charge it a lot if I were you. Royalties.
So the 2024 version would be after Katie and I had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And we'd just be like,
Yeah, that's right.
Sidecar.
Yeah, fell in love in Eureka, had 2 kids.
Yeah.
Now I'm worn out.
Okay, wait, I can actually show you one. I can show you one. Because I can't pull up one. Because I actually do have it here. And if you will, if the commission will allow, let's pull it up here.
So while you're doing that, I'd like to, one of my biggest frustrations was picking the advertising agency. No one would give us a bid. No one would say, okay, we will do this for $1 million or $1.5 million. It was all like, oh yeah, you just pick us and then we charge you. And I thought that was a very strange way to do business, but apparently that's the industry
norm.
norm.
You say,
So how do we figure that
this is
up?
how much money we
How do we figure
have.
that up in the budget to say, because they're not going to, are they going to tell us up front how much they're going to spend? Or is it, we just have to put a number down here and say,
Well, that's what you've broken
Get
out.
your-
We broke that out.
Basically,
so
you
this
went
is
with
it.
the
Yeah.
same,
okay. They're not gonna come
Correct.
back and say, oh, no, we need another 200,000.
No, we have a contractual relationship that we'll sign here, which basically will include the 44,400, which is 1,000,007, whatever the thing is.
79.
Yeah. I'm
Or
going to go ahead and push this button
yeah.
for you right here, just for a second. This is a commercial that was done by Edward Robertson. It also features sand. So if you'll take a look at this here.
I can't breathe.
And that was just one of the average ones.
That is pretty
What's that,
cool.
30 seconds?
Is that what you got going on in
Is
there?
that like Gulliver's Travels?
I like it.
Call him Gulliver?
Ed's proposal to us basically is, we've got a sheet back here, and you also have a copy of this one. It does say NAD service agreement,
Yeah.
and it does go ahead and break this figure out. This is the MSA, and really what it shows, agency services, well, they're going to spend $522,000 in media. Agency services of $485,005. Account service and leadership, I love leadership, $75,000. Creative services, $88,000. Strategy placement, $150,000. Voyage, and our other key data influence publications, STR, $52,500, and the PR at $45,000. And that totals basically, well, we have the option here. $1,744,400.
Basically, you went with about the same amount as the previous agency, correct?
Pretty
So
much.
And so now they've
But what they've done,
said, hey, here's our plan
but
based
they
on that.
basically broke it out for us.
So
So,
to Steve's question, you know, the agencies say, how much, what's your budget? How much are you willing to spend? And then they give you the plan, and what, you know. Now you can spend more and they'll add more, or you can spend less and they'll subtract, you know.
well, what we would like to see them do is to go ahead and do exactly what they proposed for us to do.
That's what you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And if you pull this little sheet back here, this is sort of what their recommendations are from a media standpoint. This is really good, and they've done a pretty good job with it. And David, it's kind of buried.
In the wrong folder.
There you go.
It's all over the place here. These media plan recommendations tell me a lot. And the reason I like this is because it shows that our exposure to the outside world is, I like this phrase they use, always on. We have a lot of always on media here that gives us, for instance, our Google Ads paid search, always on with specific messaging, targeted displays, even to the extent where we go down to the very bottom, it says strategic brands partnership, which will articulate a bit.
Where did we come out on Expedia?
Expedia, okay, if you take a look at that middle thing here, it says travel endemic lodging focus.
What page are you on, Mike?
Right here.
This,
6.
yes, six.
It's like question middle.
They did quite a bit of back-end research on Expedia for us,
Okay.
and one of the things they found, and I wish I could just pull all the stuff out right in a hurry
You want
here.
me to go
Yeah, if you would.
get a printout?
But what it amounted to is we had about, trying to think what the figure is, 50,000 room bookings year to date because of Expedia.
50,000 room bookings. I don't believe it. Based on the reports we saw from Paradise, that wasn't what Paradise
You
showed.
did see that?
No.
Okay, well, this is what they
No,
showed.
it was, I don't even know if it was thousands, let alone tens of thousands.
Really?
Yeah, it was abysmal. when you go through the reports. That
Well-
was why I challenged it.
Well, and that was the reason that we took the look at this, said that's
Yeah.
10% of the budget.
Right.
So when I came back and said, I don't know about Expedia so much, but they said, okay, travel endemic, lodging focus, it could be something other than that.
Yeah, okay.
So we've got some options to manipulate, whether it's Expedia or whomever. And I think that becomes really kind of a critical component to it.
Right.
Because I don't have the apples and oranges to make that comparison.
Right.
Because I don't know. But we did pull that basically out of that number. The rest of what they've done, I think, is at least their media recommendations by tactic are really strong.
And Paradise should be able, I mean, we're still paying them, so they should be able to give us a ROI, and a report for an annual ROI on Expedia. Because
We
they
will
did
have
one in every slide, so just,
We'll have an end of year, based upon the end of
Yeah.
December. So absolutely. So, going back to basically the line items of the budget here, going forward, that figure of $1.7 million with the $44,000 is basically the Madden price.
any objections, comments, thoughts? This is our gorilla.
So I do. The research and planning goes from 48,000 to nothing.
I don't know what we do there.
That's the first time
point.
I think I've seen that.
Well, that's part of the question. We didn't see it either. Because we're not going to be doing a lot of research internally,
Right.
and their research is basically built into their proposal already.
So where's that number? That's coming from last year? Who was that? Was that Paradise? Okay, yeah. So,
Similarly with social, we're going to be able to maintain most of our own social anyway. That's our world, and we'll maintain our own social, Facebook, so forth. They will probably assist a little bit, but the immediacy of being able to do with what Caitlin's job is so dynamic that we can be right there on top of it right now.
when you got someone in Berryville now that is here to assist, so that's good.
So the figure is, again, 1 million. I'm sorry. I got lost in my thought there, I'm sorry. It's $1,700,000 plus $44,400.
That's correct.
That's correct.
You're right.
That's Madden and the website.
That's all.
So that's basically in our MSA that we have to sign, so. Thank you, oh, thank you. What they said, Chris, was this is their observation.
It's all that total 1 million something? Yeah, I got that. Okay.
I'd like to see the Paradise numbers to see if they
Yep,
back it
okay.
up.
'Cause he
If
was-
they do, then,
That's why I asked.
Huge.
so, hold on now, let me,
I was going to say, you want to make a comment on VRBO?
Yeah, I have a comment about VRBO.
Please.
So, the city currently has a moratorium on B&Bs, Airbnbs, so forth and so on. So I think spending a lot of money on those things,
now you don't advertise them, or you don't list in them, right?
pardon?
I said you don't list in them, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay,
No.
I just put it out there.
No, we don't do any, I mean, people can book through OTAs with us,
Yeah.
but we don't
Okay,
list anything with Airbnb or VRBO or anything like that. And my only concern is that if we spend a lot of money into Airbnb and VRBOs, then,
we can't with Airbnb, so you know,
okay,
we can't. They don't offer it.
okay. So I just don't want to flip it where we're hurting the motels, hotels Does that make any sense? Am I making sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And, you know, it's interesting, I ended up getting this document today, which is basically a contract with homeway.com, which is basically VRBO.
Yeah.
That you've got to go ahead and run through the city. We can't do this independently, but you have to run through the city, which basically would do that. So I think your point is well taken. Do we really want to go to that direction? I don't know. That's
So Airbnb now collects and pays, you know,
Yeah.
VRBO does not. I think it's a great, Bentonville does it. I think it's a great thing, you capture more collections to participate in what you're talking about.
Homeway? Well, it's VRBO.
Well, the VRBO, yeah.
I just,
But, so, what you're talking about, Dave, is part of Expedia. That's just part of their family, right? Now, the return, the tax dollar return, if there was $337,000 in bookings, it's only $10,000 in tax dollars. To spend $110,000, if it's as good as they're saying. So that the return is not good.
we.
I don't think, but maybe it is.
Well, you know, for instance, I saw the check last month from Airbnb, which was $12,000, which represented a tremendous amount of bookings. So we know that unto itself is extremely valuable to us.
Airbnb does fantastic. I don't know what other people's
And
thoughts
I mean, I think regardless of what the city's moratorium is, people are out there Airbnb-ing, and we're still getting income from it advertise your income. We should definitely advertise as much of VRBO and Airbnb can, especially if we're getting income from it.
Well, we'd have to do this tax situation through the city for VRBO.
Well, so they had proposed, and what Paradise did, they spent a lot of money on Expedia. And so you get Booking.com, you're on Booking.com, and Expedia. And Travelocity, I'm not sure which other ones they have, but they have the VRBO. And so they do promote through that program. I think it's an all-inclusive thing what they do. I don't know that they can chop out VRBO. I don't know that. Just to explain how that kind of works.
If you look at their email addresses, it's all Expedia Group.
Yeah.
Everything goes through Expedia Group, one way or the other. It's interesting.
The concern was like 10% of their budget going just to Expedia. Is that worth it? You know, we didn't really know the answer to that question. And so we're still trying to figure that out. And it's really not pushing VRBO that much, I don't think. It's more Expedia programming, Booking.com and those more than anything probably.
Okay, so the answer, or the question is, are we okay going
So-
forward with our
The
MAD approach?
1 million, now's your chance to argue, fight for less or more, or the same.
Based on what?
Well, you don't want to spend $1 million, you want to spend 900,000. You want to spend 1.1 million, I don't know.
You want to be the person to step up and fight against and then have it all backfire?
Some people would want to spend more money. There's people,
Based on what?
they think more money should go to the agency. I mean, I talk to people that say that.
Really?
Yeah. And then some people say the opposite.
Well, part of the deal is that they are stripping out all their media costs net. So we're getting $522,000 in net media. And that means we could have bought the media ourselves, and that would have been subtracted from that figure. So basically what you're looking at is we're spending about $500,000 on that agency. The rest of it's all media.
They don't have better access than
They
we
do.
would?
Well, they do
They
have better
leverage.
research.
They get more bang for their buck, right, Mike?
That's right.
Better work.
But it's all net, so in other words, we're not paying a gross marked up price on that media when it comes to us. So this is a good thing.
They're getting more exposure than we could with the same amount of money.
I like this breakdown. I think it makes it pretty explanatory.
I don't know, but
Paradise
it's
to me was always a mystery.
right.
They were coming up with whatever.
Well, you know, if we run good example, we run an ad in the Dallas Fort Worth Times Record or whatever, and it comes back as a full-page ad and it's $5,000, we would have bought the ad for $5,000. They're going to charge us $5,000. So it's all net, as opposed to the magical markup number in agencies is 17.65%.
Oh, just like chicken.
So when you get a bill from your ad agency and it says $117.65, subtract 85% from that and you'll have $100 net. That's how agencies make money. I know that. So,
I mean, I'm comfortable with this number, so.
I think it looks like we at least understand more of what we're getting out of it than we have
Yeah.
in the past. I like that.
they did a good job. I'm very comfortable with our relationship. We had a great chat yesterday with them for an hour. Jake in Dallas, Fort Worth, Taylor's up in Aurora, and then Kaylee's over in Berryville. And I feel real comfortable with that relationship at this point. So.
And again, I think we're on the front burner because we switch agencies. In a year or two, will we fall back?
Yep.
I believe they become complacent and we start becoming second important agency for them, or, not as important client.
Could be.
Okay, next item. Special events.
Yesterday's girlfriend.
Yeah, I have some questions on this one.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know attendance numbers for these, for the first 3 events. But looking at like the Balm of Life jumping from 30 to 50, what was the rationale behind that?
More music in the park. More music on a continual basis in Basin Spring Park. Boy, Balm of Life, I'm not sure why that name came about, but it is music in the park. We'd like to see music a little earlier, perhaps late April, extending into November. Part of that is just because people are going by Basin Park all the time. We'd like to be able to go ahead and capture some of that audience, make them feel a little better. We could put maybe a little more quality entertainment from time to time within the park itself on a weekend. We'll talk about Sam over here in a bit, but I think by virtue of the fact that we're trying to make those improvements, this also warrants maybe some better entertainment in the park as a whole. So that's the reason for that.
We'd also talked about having pop-up artists throughout town and at the parks. That would be added. That would be complementary to Upper Spring, because the people on Upper Spring don't hear the music. And so it's a Spring Street event.
And obviously a preference for local artists.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also were talking about calling it music around town.
If
too,
they're any good.
Which could be Harmon Park, it could be Magnetic, it could be just places that we want to be able to have a little more showcase entertainment. So that's part of it. We just don't have as much budget as we would like to have all the time, but this is a way that we can bring in maybe our local guys that are good. And we've got some great local talent.
Fireworks,
Same.
same.
All the events.
They looked great last year.
Jamboree was good. That's what they said. They're just giving you props.
Jamboree.
Okay.
Anything on special events?
No, other than what we're seeing, we're, basically forecasting the same thing, basically with an increase in folk. Oh, I will say this about folk. We would like to really get more community engagement with Folk Festival. If we all got very inspired by going up to the Eureka Springs Historical Museum just recently, looking at the display that Jeff has put up in there. It's a magnificent display of the history of the Eureka Springs Folk Festival, and it's going into its 75th year. It is the longest running folk festival in the United States. What we would like to be able to do, and we actually talked to Madden about some strategic brand partnerships that would maybe go back into a festival like Folk to help us secure, for instance, a major underwriter like Taylor Guitars, for instance, or Martin Guitars, or somebody that can put some credence to the festival and not just have a headliner on the stage, but actually have activity within the community. They have a lot of stuff down there that is amazing. Square dance, fiddling, plant picking contests, there's just stuff that we've lost the essence of. And Folk Festival really does have a special place in Eureka Springs. I don't think we've probably been able to exploit it the way we would like to. Used to be a pretty dang big deal. I mean, they let school out in Eureka Springs for Folk Festival. The Barefoot Ball, I've actually already had a talk with our friends up at the Basin about maybe taking the Barefoot Ball on as part of an equity relationship where they take care of the entertainment up there, they do their thing, we help them promote it. The story of the Barefoot Ball, if you don't know it, is fascinating. It goes all the way back to 1952 or something like that with Joe Parkhill and a program on television called Truth or Consequences. And how he won a trip to Eureka Springs and had to dance barefoot upstairs. It's a great story. Anyway, we have a lot of opportunity with these things, and I think that's part of why we want to expand some of these things a little bit, if not a lot.
So I like the increase in holiday events. I think that's a good plus. I do want to know about fireworks. Sam, would you mind coming up to the podium? Just so, unfortunately, I was unable to attend, and you got money from CAPC and money from the city for the fireworks show, correct?
Correct.
Are there additional funds that you need for, I don't know, extra fireworks or infrastructure, security, parking, you name it?
Probably, yeah. I don't know what's on y'all's budget.
7,500 for
Okay.
fireworks.
Because we've already locked in the July 4th date, by the way, so we're having it Thursday, July 4th. So it's going to be same place. We went with a different company, Rainbow Fireworks. Had a meeting with the guy back in, I guess, August, September. He seemed really professional, and we felt really good about it. Yeah, and we paid $6,000 for the deposit, and then $75,000 from the city, which I've already confirmed with Michael from the finance department, and then $75,000, which I had mostly confirmed with Scott, but of course nothing's in ink until
It's 21.
budgeted. Yeah, and so it's 21 total for the fireworks. So 6 plus 15 is 21. But there's also other things that, I mean, if you guys want to help out, you can, but I'm not.
I mean, I just didn't know if you.
The music was something that y'all helped out with last year,
Okay.
but I don't remember how much it was. I think you guys paid for Ron's services as well as the bands. So
It was around 4.
it's 4. Okay.
Somewhere
Dang,
in
Ron's
there.
expensive.
No, there was
No, I'm joking.
help with the musicians. You know, we help with the
And
musicians
advertising
and advertising.
Okay.
And technical support out there.
Okay.
And Mike and I talked and have built some funds in for that this year. But we didn't put it under fireworks because, I mean, we can, but fireworks is fireworks.
Yeah, I mean,
Right now.
Yeah, you could relabel it to Jamboree-ka as just that event.
Well, I didn't want to
Anything.
add a line item that I vote on and it's specific.
Yeah.
I can do
Speaking of
that.
Jamboree-ka, look at that shirt. Golly,
I got no problem with
you got the
Jamboree.
best shirts. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, we'll always, I mean, we'll find a way to use the funds if you guys decide to give us more. But for now, I mean, just covering the fireworks is what we're looking for, just so we can lock that in.
What's the total of the fireworks?
21.
And that's just for the fireworks?
Yeah, that's for them to come in. Actually, yeah, it's 21. They're giving us a little extra just because we're going to house them down at Lake Leatherwood too as well. So,
Okay.
you know, put them in one of the cabins and all that. But
Did you
yeah,
shop
was it
around
good?
for
Did
that?
you make it to the show down there last year?
No, because it was the same time as my show last year on Holiday
sorry.
Island.
Sorry. Oh,
This one was better.
ours was cooler. Oh, we had like a whole event there. We had, you know, a dunk tank and, you know, just food trucks and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was way more people than we expected, but yeah, Ruth Hager got dunked. Yeah, that was good. I mean, it went really well, but it was
So is this
We'll
really?
be better
Is
prepared
this
next
for
year.
fireworks, or is this for?
This is just for fireworks, so $21,000
Not just the
for.
event itself, this is for fireworks.
Yeah, 21,000 for just the fireworks is what
Okay.
yeah. And that's pretty comparable. I mean, the
Hey.
guy looked at what, now I can't remember the name of the company we used last year, but anyway, Rainbow Fireworks looked at what they provided, and it's pretty comparable. They're like, yeah, that sounds about right. So it was about a 15-minute show with, it was pretty cool. I mean, Chris can attest. Also, Edward Robinson took some awesome drone shots of the fireworks too. So
Yeah.
yeah, speaking
That's
of
good.
Edward, yeah.
And the previous company can't do fireworks in Arkansas anymore, so you can't go with them anymore.
Oh, that they're not qualified. Yeah, I think there was some weird stuff after the
Oh, their
event.
tech doesn't work with them anymore. That's who we went with as well in Holiday Island.
What was their name?
It was J and
J&M. Yeah.
J&M.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
We're running out of time.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to.
Fireworks.
Fireworks. Okay. Great.
Thank you, Sam.
Any other questions, comments on our special events? Okay. Group meeting, tourism outreach, and I misspoke a while ago. I said tchotchkes, trinkets, and trash. Really what this amounts to is being able to go ahead and provide some goodie bag type opportunities for people to come through our area, especially the ones that come back up into the green room that we would like to be able to thank and have. We don't have really anything to give away. That doesn't mean we're going to buy a bunch of stuff. It just means we don't have anything right now that we can offer anybody. So we'd like to have a little bit of money, if you will, to be able to buy some things that might be kind of nice to give away. We have nothing that says Eureka Springs on it. So other than the odd koozie cups, we're kind of limited in our
Promotional materials.
promotional materials. Yeah, I call it trinkets
Also
and
listed
trash.
here, expenses,
It's also where?
turn it over.
Yeah. So 15,000.
Where, I'm sorry.
Under office expense, there's promotional materials
Oh, we do have promotional.
for 5.
5,000.
Then you got 10 over here.
Okay. Maybe those are the same things. Scott?
To the tourism outreach was where we were going to go out and try to connect with groups to bring them and advertise to them about what we offer in Eureka.
That's it.
That's what that, because that was similar,
I missed
Mike and I
this.
talked a long time about all this. We had some similarities, but they're different. And between he and I, we keep them straight because we both bounce off each other all the time. But the tourism outreach was where you came up with the idea, and we got behind going out, because we've not done this, and this is what our discussion was. We've done zero in this area, so we need to have funds available to reach out to organizations, communicate, offer some things to them, and bring in this line of communication, because we've not done that. And this gives us the ability to start using the funds for that purpose.
That is good savings.
Cool.
That was what that was.
Right. And that's a different component.
Okay.
So is that where like trade shows and expos that we would go to?
You're in that,
would be
that's
under that?
that's where that is, right there. That's
Okay.
what we're talking about. We're not, now, that's where Mike can come in on this part, because he's expert in this area, but that's where we're headed, is that hole right there, the trade shows, and trying to get people to come in that we've not connected with in 2 years or longer that I've been here. We've done zero in that area, so we need to try and start showing some benefit to spending the money there. So there's just where Mike comes in.
Yeah, this is a good example, Arkansas Meeting Planner. We have meeting locations in Eureka Springs that are probably underutilized because we don't market them very well. Now, our hotels, such as Crescent Basin, and certainly Randy and other venues will go ahead and market their services, to outside organizations, and even have sales to do that. We do not. We have had in the past. A good example is our bigger CVBs will even have sports people trying to bring in tournaments for softball, baseball, football, all kinds of things, and we don't have those opportunities. But we do have facilities available that do bring in traffic, and that's an area we want to start regaining that exposure, and again, regaining that exposure with the state of Arkansas, because we lost it. and we've got to go ahead and get that back. I've explained that a little bit, but we'll dig into that as we go, but we wanted to budget some money for it. Are we at odd? I think we are. Okay, technical services. This is Eureka Sound. I want Ron to go to 52,000. I gave him his first raise in 2018 to 44. He hasn't had a raise since.
This is a contract
This
increase.
is a contract. Right.
Increase for the contract.
Right. Our license fees, basically, we have to pay ASCAP, CSAC, BMI, State of Arkansas.
Alcohol,
All beverage.
City of Eureka.
City of Eureka. City of Eureka. We do that. Our front house sales manager, front house manager, which basically has been Sarai. We've got at 20. We scrapped odd director. We're going to take all of that in-house right now. I don't see a need to do that. Our odd insurance, again, we don't need to do that. And there's no reason for it. Concessions, based upon the fact of what we have purchased and what we bought, we didn't buy that much, so we're budgeting $25,000 for concessions. Maintenance and operations, if you'll look at that number, which we've got at 40, basically that runs our sounds, lights, so forth, stairs. Ticketing service fee. This was the
You jumped
I'm
maintenance
sorry.
and upgrades.
Maintenance upgrades, I'm sorry. Pardon me.
It's a 20 grand increase.
Numbered these, they would be easier. Okay, we put 35 in here. Now, the 35, right now, I am using as an example to do 35 for the next 3 years. These would be maintenance upgrades that we put into the auditorium in terms of just necessities. This includes our hardware upstairs on the stage. It would include things that just absolutely need to be changed out in terms of potentially using a better type of lighting equipment, LED, whatever, and working with Ron to go ahead and make some changes that basically are hardware changes within the system upstairs, also downstairs as well. We have a lot of old equipment, and this gives us the opportunity to start maybe taking a move toward upgrading some of our equipment and internalizing some of that work. Not a lot of money when you think about it, because theaters are expensive to run, but if we don't plan for it, then we will never get there, and we really need to do that. I'll jump down to odd ticketing and service fees. We talked for a moment about Thunder Ticks. We kind of want to change that, but that's just going to be a fee that we're going to have to absorb whoever we go with of some sort.
Promotional,
Go ahead.
the promotional materials, how's that working for the odds separately from the other stuff?
Well, again, that was the thing that I was talking about earlier. I'd like to be able to do a little bit more in terms of concert promotion. When we bring in Old Crow, I'd like to be able to do a little bit more to work with the promoter to help those sales out within, 100-mile, 150-mile area. We're not doing anything at all right now.
How are you going to, we kind of talked about that, but did you figure out how you're going to decide who gets help with promotions and who doesn't? What's the criteria?
I think the criteria is going to be what our promoter is going to be able to do.
Okay.
If they come in, good question, that's a great question. Joe comes in the front door and says, I'm going to bring in, I don't know, Led Zepp, and they don't have any money. Well, that's not a good example. But somebody that needs to be promoted, and we want to see that Thursday night show work better for us, just because that helps us build equity in the product. That gives us a chance to go ahead and maybe sell some more tickets, or room nights, so forth. It just spreads the equity of the promotion of the city a little bit. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think where the big thing is like making sure it's focused on the revenue produced, the ones that are really going to produce revenue.
Exactly.
Making sure we're judiciously picking winners, the winners in that. You know, someone's coming with a show that isn't going to do well. It's like, why are you going to throw money at it?
Exactly.
But being fair in that communication and all of that.
If we see brand development, you know, with an artist particularly that's on the upswing, and they pull somebody from The Voice, and all of a sudden they need some help, you know, we want to be a part of that if we can be. Does anybody watch The Voice?
My mom.
Yes.
You missed a good one. Odd director travel reimbursement, there's no such thing. Talent deposit, this was an area that we did talk about in reference to being able to bring someone in, maybe as a CAPC produced event, if we need to do that. And again, I don't know who that is. We're not recruiting that particularly, but we might be able to do that, and it might be a way to sell some tickets if the right person comes along. And what I'm thinking of really out loud is cover groups. Cover group could do a good job, you know, on a Thursday night, depending on what for instance, Thursday night Creedence Clearwater Revival, cover group comes in, and it's right on top of, you know, an event that's happening in Eureka Springs that would bring in that type of demographic. Don't know, but we don't have the opportunity if we don't budget for it. Let's see, event writers. Those are the things that we have to go ahead and put upstairs in the green rooms for our talent when they come in. It could be, you know, a bunch of flowers. It could be hummus. It could be a case of whiskey. Just depends on what that writer is. Odd security, absolutely vital and important. That's been just quintessential to what we have to do in today's age. Odd ushers. We do expect, hopefully, because of some increase in shows that are coming on board, a little bit more usher opportunity. We also want to be cautious with our ushers. I had a conversation with our fire department the other day about usher training, CPR, making sure that all of our ushers go through that training. In case they go down, we want to make sure that they're okay. And then the other part of that is just being able to have a good pool of ushers that we can depend on, that we train, that basically do the best job of representing our organization. We want to control the ushers internally. I think we're doing a good job, but it's a tricky one. Parking and permits, basically what we have to pay the city to go ahead and park vehicles for our talent. Sometimes they're in front of Basin Park and we've got to unload them. We need a place to park them. Similarly out here, we've got to pay for those permits so that our talent can come in and have a place to park and not have to scramble around the area. Our in-house contract labor, which is $5,000. Help me with that one again.
That one is, we do not have an employee to take care of general in-house janitorial service here in this building. We have an auditorium manager or some title like that, but that's not what is getting done. So we need money to hire people, contract to come in and clean our building, take out trash, do floors, clean the wood, just general in-house upkeeping. And Mike had suggested that we look at a janitorial service. And I'm not saying, neither of us are saying we need someone here every day, but we do need to do better than what we're doing, which is me taking the trash out or Danielle taking the trash out and the bathroom's not getting, just stuff like that's got to be taken care of, and it's not. So that's what that money's there for.
Have we gotten bids from companies that provide janitorial services?
We just talked about that today.
We entertained that yesterday, David, and I'd like to find out who can do it.
Right.
Yeah, because 5,000 seems awfully low.
It probably is.
Yeah,
Places
we
charge a lot of money.
We just,
We need to find out if there's somebody that can do that. I don't know that we can pay somebody $5,000 to do it, but maybe we can find a firm that will do.
what we've been doing this year is some of the ushers were willing to work for extra income, and we would outline what we needed them to do instead of just coming in here and them decide, oh, well, I'll just do this today. No, here's a list of things I need you to do today. And so we approached it that way. But in 2024, we need some money set aside to either do it that way or go janitorial service. One of the two's got to continue, so.
Brian, you got input?
Yeah, possible idea. I mean, what do they do for the courthouse, the city building? I mean, I guarantee you they don't have somebody full-time, 40 hours a week there that's already working for the city. And I'm sure whoever's doing that could use more time, maybe figure out what that would be, blocked in a day, 2 days, a week, whatever that would be. And you're already giving somebody that's working for the city that's credible to do it here. That would be how I would, you're not gonna find a decent janitorial service company in Eureka. And you'll probably get price gouges for whatever they do. So that would be around.
That's a good idea.
Good, thank you. Good suggestion. Okay.
Moving on.
All right, excellent. We will come back and revisit that because it's really important, obviously. It's hygiene. There's nothing else.
Labor event? That's just your, I think it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, obviously, we've got to have some help,
Yeah.
on stage, backstage, and so forth.
Renovations has gone
Renovations,
down.
This is an area that we budgeted for in 2023. We have a lot of things that need to get done. For instance, our green rooms, if you've been in them recently, they're the same old green rooms from 1912. They need to be upgraded. They are not state-of-the-art. In fact, they're kind of pathetic in a lot of respects. We need to be able to go ahead and do some fix-up, make those things look decent for our guests that come in. And it's just really a part of being a little bit more state-of-the-art as a theater and as a performance facility.
So what was that $102,000 spent on last year?
I believe we've only spent 78,000 on that the last time I looked at that. In fact, I looked at it now.
What was it spent on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was it, I mean, I know we had was that under HVAC and stuff like that?
yeah, we had, I know we had some expenses with the HVAC. We got 4 10-ton units out there. One of them was burnt up. The other two, unit 2 and 3 were kicking on at the same time, and it was caused, they were fighting each other. One was trying to heat, the other's trying to cool, so we went through all of that. That was, I would say, $30-something thousand to get all that straight. Then we replaced all of the thermostats in the building because they were hanging off the walls and non-functioning, and went to Johnson Controls versus Ecobee, because Ecobee with the city didn't have a contract any longer and they wouldn't respond to our calls, so we had to just take action on our own. So all of that, I'd say half that budget or more was spent on just HVAC issues, for sure.
So now I'm a little confused then. What are we responsible for of the auditorium? What's the city responsible for?
That's a,
Didn't building inspector find all kinds of problems underneath this building?
Now, he didn't talk directly to me, but I was informed that there was leaking water and also
Support beams?
support
rotted
beams.
out and
Yes.
stuff?
It's
yes.
right over there.
We have an issue underneath there. There's also a gas line that is
Rusted out.
fragile.
So is that our responsibility? Is that the city's responsibility?
There used to be, in fact, when Mike was here, there was a contract between the CAPC about the auditorium care and the city as to who was responsible for any of these specific issues. And that contract expired a while back, and so I don't know how to answer your
I'm
question.
confused. Are we responsible for the auditorium completely?
Well, when I came on board, the
seemed
city was responsible for, had taken responsibility for the HVAC. But when
All
we
the
had.
renovations that were done, though, were done by the CAPC, right?
Correct.
All of this.
Correct.
So
CAPC is funded 100%.
that's the answer to your question.
We, at one time, subsidized the city for all the utility bills
Right.
to a pretty healthy amount of money. CAPC's always been on the hook for this building, one way or the other.
So how about this, how about the building inspector's claim about the problems underneath the building? Do we need to be budgeting for that?
Well, see,
or
this
what?
is a city-owned property. This is a city-owned building, not a CAPC-owned building. So the city needs to take action and be the primary caretaker, or address it first before us, I think. So somebody's got to talk about that with them.
So I think we should add that to a workshop when we
Yeah.
talk about that reserve funds, because we got leaking stuff.
We have a
We've got-
leaking roof.
We have
Yeah,
water on
roof.
top, water below, so.
It's almost a question that needs to go back to city council as well.
Yeah.
And I really, I don't want to go ahead and pass the buck in the interest of time, because there's some other things that are really important in addition to this building. But it's a controversy that has existed for a long time.
And the city is working in the budget for this year, and I'm pushing it. It's like, we need a list of things that we need to start a 20-year plan or a 10-year plan to say, let's don't wait until the building falls down to say, okay, now we have to come up with millions of dollars to fix it. Let's have
The
a
grant won't
plan.
fix the problems.
Right.
So that's the problem.
So Steve, we can, before the next council meeting, we can add this to the agenda to talk about it.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we got 15 minutes.
Okay.
We got food upstairs.
All right, we're going to go ahead and, if we can, part of the other thing is that we need seriously a couple of new refrigerators, big time, big time, big time.
Is that in your?
Yeah, that's
okay.
under the upgrades and
Oh, yeah, and
renovations.
you bought some of those this year.
We've
One or
got
two.
one that's burned out back there, and we need another one upstairs, because we're having some problems keeping temperature control on our beverages.
So in the essence of time, if you've got anything jump out at anyone, I mean, obviously group sales is a big increase, 50.
And I'll go ahead and say this in a way that I think is very proper and purposeful. The staff of the CAPC, not counting me or Scott, is way underpaid. And it's my recommendation that we bring them up to.
So for, when we go to approve the budget, we should go into executive session to discuss any salary increases. Of course,
Yes.
when we come out, that, then
be
whatever's
fine.
decided.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Very
So
good, thank you.
But
there's that.
we also talked about positions, though.
Yeah.
Auditorium director, we talked about before, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Auditorium
and
director.
he's scratched that out of the budget.
But then Mike's proposing some type of
Group sales, yeah.
And so
That's
that
what
needs-
I was
That's a
saying.
decision we need to be making.
Yeah, that's what I was just asking about. But as far as, I just wanted, before we started.
Thank you.
Too much conversation about individuals'
Where we are.
salaries, let's do that in executive session.
The rest of this is pretty much cut and dried. There's no major changes to anything that we're doing. If anything, we're probably under budgeting from last year a little bit to try to save some money here and there.
So group sales, what's
Group
your,
sale.
you want to add a group sales person?
Yep.
So everybody knows that.
And we look at 50,000 just to start, because I don't know when that position would become available.
I feel like we're putting the money out there before we make the decision to do that. So, which we should, I mean,
You gotta have to.
yeah, I know.
It's going to be in the
Money's-
budget, yeah. So that's what he's asking us for.
I feel like we're going a roundabout wrong way of saying, okay, we're gonna talk about having a group salesperson, but we're gonna put the money in the budget now.
He's
Right?
asking for it.
Yeah,
So,
but
just
he's not
requesting.
permanent director,
that's right.
so that's,
That's
I mean,
what
and
he's
I pointed that
asking.
out to Mike, I mean, and it's no offense to you.
No,
But
you're
next-
right.
If we don't hire Mike in the future and we have a different director, that director may say, no, I don't like group sales,
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
and I do have one other, I think intergovernmental support was what we did for parks or,
I said that, I was told by the auditors with the state of Arkansas to set up a specific account to show repayment back to the city for the $280-something thousand of renovations that occurred downstairs. And the agreement, my understanding was that we, CAPC, would repay them over a 3 to 5 year period. We were corrected on that, and so let me back up. The first payment would have been for $17,000, which we made. Once the city demanded the full payment of our portion, which was an additional $94,000 above the 17, we came to the commission and you guys approved to pay them in full. So that's the story with the 17. So the city's paid in full for all renovations. So therefore that line was no longer needed in the 2024 budget.
And then there's a loan up there for $45,000, it's not this year too. Back up there under auditorium expense, loan to City of Austin.
Yes.
because one of the things I would like to see in this budget that I know we're capable and allowed to do is a line item for parks renovations.
Well, how about this right here we got in our package?
So,
Yeah, and that's what I'm referring
Where's
to. I
that
see
at?
this,
Where's
but I
that
don't
in the
see it
budget?
here.
well, okay.
So,
The question would be, do we want it in the budget, or do we want to take it from reserves?
Wouldn't it have to be approved?
Either
as a
way,
funding
yeah, it's got to be
request
approved.
Before it could go into the budget?
not
No.
necessarily, because
We can-
Mike and Scott can say,
I mean,
here's X amount of dollars, and we approve it, and that's
Yeah.
all it needs.
We can give money to parks,
Yeah.
especially if it's, falls under tourism related, which, I mean, we can give money to the parks.
My opinion, we have
Is-
$2.4 million in reserve. I think we should take it out of reserve.
I kind of agree.
Scott, what do you think? Reserve or?
Yes, sir, please, I think so.
Okay, okay.
For God's sake. It's like-
What?
It's a lot of money there. Okay.
Basically, I would treat it as a funding request. Not exactly a funding request, but it somewhat is. Whenever you come up, or you could do it as a line item, it's up to you.
Well, when we go to approve the budget, we could approve money for parks to be allocated out of, I mean.
Reserve,
I don't
right.
see why
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Good.
Sam, you did such a good job writing this up and everything, no one even really needed to talk to you, it sounds like.
It's very strict.
Very entertaining.
Didn't you already submit?
Or maybe we do.
For that? We can just give a proposal.
Okay, it's 5:51.
Any other, are we stuck on anything? So we'll do executive session for salary stuff, but when we come out of that, is there anything we're stuck on in the budget that we want to change?
Nope.
Wow.
Food is upstairs in the lobby.
Thank you, Commissioner, for due diligence
Thank you, Mike
and
and
oversight and
Scott.
what you're doing.
Thank you, guys.
And
This was smoother.
appreciate your input and also your wisdom. God knows we need wisdom.